All right. Before I begin, I'd like to do a quick poll. Could you please raise your hands if you've ever heard about Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies? Oh, cool, the majority of the room. Now, could you please raise your hands if you've ever heard about blockchain? All right, that's actually a very impressive number. A couple of months ago, I was in my hometown of Bucharest in Romania, and I was arranging a team for a new blockchain company that I'm kicking off here in the Netherlands. And one night, I got back home to find my dad with some of his family friends in my kitchen, and they were kind of just laughing. And these are people that have basically known me ever since I was this big. I grew up with their kids, yet I didn't get a chance to see them for a couple of years. And as I walked into this house, the atmosphere kind of quietened down, and they started to look towards me with worried faces. I was confused. At one point, one of my dad's friends breaks the silence, and he says, "Stefan, we heard you're dealing on the black market now. What's up with that?" So look, I think it's fair to say that public opinion regarding blockchain technology is rather varied, and that is mostly because people confuse blockchain with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and they're not the same thing. Blockchain is a technology. Cryptocurrencies are an application of that technology. By saying that blockchain is just the application behind Bitcoin, it's kind of like saying that the internet is, the technology. It's kind of like saying that the internet is just the technology behind Facebook. And that is far from the truth. Now, I spent the rest of my evening that night explaining to my dad and his close friends that I'm not an international criminal. However, here, I hope to get you guys to understand what blockchain is and how you can use it within your own industries. So, what is blockchain? Let's take a look at some definitions. That could help. The dictionary says that a blockchain is a digital ledger in which transactions made in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are rewarded chronologically and digitally. While this is not wrong, it's definitely very far from the whole truth. So we kind of have to keep digging. Fortune.com posted an article called "Wait, What is Blockchain?", in which they defined it as a way to structure data that allows competitors to share a digital ledger, and the definition kind of goes on and it gets even more confusing. But it's fine, because Fortune.com thought they'd pull it out of the bag by giving us an example of blockchain being used in a sentence. Bitcoin, the currency, I think, is going to go nowhere. The blockchain is a technology which we've been studying, and yes, it's real. This is Jamie Dimon on CNBC. So that doesn't help very much either. It's okay. We can keep looking. Wikipedia. They should be good. Wikipedia says that a blockchain, originally blockchain, for some reason, is a continuously growing list of records called blocks, which are linked and secured using cryptography. Each block typically contains a hash pointer as a link to a previous block, a timestamp, and transaction data. Now, this is definitely not wrong, yet none of you seem to kind of get it yet. All right, so I thought I'd solve this problem. I thought I'd bring my own definition of blockchain to enlighten everybody. Blockchain is a technology that uses collective intelligence to democratize truth and make it usable. All right, you still seem confused for some reason. Look, I think the point is, it's hard to understand what blockchain is using definitions. So I thought it'd be better if we try to understand what blockchain is by becoming a blockchain. In other words, it's the late evening, some of you are tired, maybe you want to go home. However, I propose that you sit and listen to a 20-year-old Romanian kid guide you through an interactive exercise in an attempt to understand one of the most complicated and revolutionary technologies of the 21st century. So let's do it. Thank you. All right. Before we set up our own blockchain, we need a purpose. Why are we doing this? And as we saw at the beginning, most of you are familiar with cryptocurrencies. So to keep things simple, we're going to do that. We're going to make our own blockchain to manage our own coin that we're going to create today, and we're going to call it MoneyCoin. All right? Before we do this, I'm going to define some of the basic notions and principles behind this technology. And these are terms that some of you may have heard of before, and they mostly sound very confusing. Please bear with me. The first thing that we need in setting up our own blockchain, nodes. Nodes are the most basic element of a blockchain. A blockchain is a network that's made up of multiple individual nodes. In reality, nodes are computers. In this exercise, we are going to be using human volunteers. So, I'd like to see some of those. Who wants to become a node in our blockchain? We've got 6 available spaces. Please raise your hands. All right, sir, over there. Please stand, kind of somewhere close to the stage. Sophia, you join us as well. Max, Vincent, and how many are there? 4. We need 2 more. Let's have some, let's kind of spread it out. I saw that there's a corporate region being set up there in the background. Would you gentlemen care to elect a member to join our blockchain? There we go. All right, that's one, and we're going to need one more. One more node. All right, there we go. Cool. All right, you can just stand wherever you want. You can feel free to join me on stage. I don't mind. Everything's fine. You're just going to be confusing the cameraman, so I'm okay. All right. The next thing we're going to have are blocks. Blocks are, kind of, to put it simply, the way in which data is stored on a blockchain. And each node individually keeps blocks. Now, I have Max, a friend of mine here, is going to hand out a piece of paper to you guys. And you're going to see all this later, so don't worry about it for now. Blocks store the data that is relevant to the purpose of our blockchain. In this case, who owns what money coin. All right? The next thing we need, rules. Like pretty much everything in life, a blockchain operates under a strict set of rules. And because I'm the architect of this whole experience, I'm going to define some of the basic rules of managing a cryptocurrency such as our beloved money coin. Rule number 1, a person can only send one money coin if he or she owns that one money coin in the previous block. This might sound simple and redundant, but the most basic thing behind money and what gives it value is that you can only send it if you have it. Right? And notice that I said in the previous block, and here we are right now, we don't have any blocks, we don't know what that is. So we're just going to create a new rule that says that everybody starts with one money coin, just for the sake of convenience. By doing so, this is called a genesis block. This is the point of origin, this is where everything begins, and you'll see as we go along. The next rule, this is very important. When more than 50% of the nodes agree upon something, and the nodes will be us, we reach what is known as a consensus. This is a fancy-sounding word, and it's very important, and it's what I will define next. A consensus, long story short, is the generation of a new block. And if that's still confusing, don't worry. You'll see later on. What we're going to do is we're going to mark consensus with a high 5. So all the nodes that agree with each other, considering that they form the majority, are going to, we're going to high five each other. You'll see. It'll be fine. The next most important thing, users. We need somebody to actually use MoneyCoin. And because we're kind of creating the blockchain here in real life, we're going to simulate the users virtually. And you'll see. I'll guide you guys along that. So here we have it. This is what all our nodes see right now. And I'll be a node, kind of sharing with you guys up on stage. This is our genesis block, as we described it before. Every user has one money coin, and that's exactly what all of you guys are looking at right now. So, let us play the game. Let's now say that Tim wants to send Samantha one money coin. So Tim will say, "Dear blockchain, I want to send Samantha one money coin." And it's our responsibility as the nodes to check the rules and see if he can do that and agree upon it. So, dear nodes, if you agree with Tim sending Samantha one money coin, would you please raise your hands? There we go. We have a 100% consensus, so we're going to high-five each other now. There you go. Let's see all you guys do that. Now, mark this as a very important moment, right? Because by us agreeing to that, we've generated the first block. And what this means is that this situation right now, and you guys can flip to the next page, you have it on there, this is now our reality. This is now the truth which we've democratically chosen. So my definition doesn't sound so crazy anymore. Let's do some more stuff. Let's say now that Samantha wants to send Jennifer 2 MoneyCoin. Can she do that? Yes or no, nodes? Hands up, whoever agrees. All right, we still have a consensus with the vast majority, and that's because Samantha does have 2 coins, so she can do that. All right. Now, this is a good point to prove what happens when a node does not agree. So, you did not raise your hands. You didn't say that Samantha could send Jennifer 2 money coins. However, because you were a minority in this case of this decision, it didn't matter, and also you were not rewarded with the high five, which means that you actually have no real incentive to lie and play against the rules. So let's do one more. Let's now say that Tim wants to send Samantha 1 money coin. Do we agree with that, yes or no? Please raise your hands if you agree. Good. We've got 100% consensus that we do not agree with Tim sending Samantha 1 money coin, and that is because Tim does not have that 1 money coin. So we as a system kind of decided that that will not work. And therefore, the next block that we just generated through this consensus looks exactly the same. Nothing happened. So, congratulations. This is the basics of blockchain. Our blockchain now has 4 blocks, and you were the guys who helped us do that. So please give yourselves a round of applause. You can feel free to go back to your seats, and you can keep your ledgers. All right? Good. Okay. So what did we learn? We learned that a blockchain is decentralized. We managed to successfully move around an asset without a centralized power such as a bank. We also learned that it is scalable. This system could have worked with 50,000 nodes. Not here, but in reality, spread across the world, it works. And what happens is that this consensus that we reach, it gets stronger the more nodes that participate. A blockchain is also auditable because we can go back and we can look and we can see every single situation that was in the past because the blocks are linked. So this was block number 3, in which Jennifer had 3 coins, Alex had 1, Samantha and Tim didn't have any. And we can go back. We can look at block number 2, which looked the same because no transactions happened. Block number 1, in which Samantha was, very rich. And the Genesis block, all the way back to that, in which everybody had 1 money coin. Now let me kind of reverse all this process. We also learned that the blockchain is secure. A blockchain is actually virtually unhackable. Because it is distributed across multiple nodes, which in general are computers spread across the world, in order to hack a blockchain, what you actually need to do is to break into most of the nodes individually and change all of the data in all of the blocks, which in a healthy blockchain is mathematically close to impossible, which makes this system almost infinitely more secure than our traditional databases that we have today. And the next thing, a blockchain is smart. And the reason why it is smart is because when we set it up, we have the power to choose these rules that get enforced. And in doing that, we greatly vast the scope that this technology can be used for. Imagine this. This resource that we just built doesn't necessarily have to be used to move money coin around. It can be used for much more. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. Singapore, Estonia, and the United Nations Development Program are working on experimenting with putting identities on a blockchain. What that means is that identity fraud is greatly reduced. Voting becomes fair and transparent. This might not be a problem here in the Netherlands, but I'm quite sure that there are some countries out there in which whenever there's a new election, hundreds of thousands of people rise from the dead, vote for a corrupt party, and they die again. This is a fundamental problem for modern democracies. It's huge, and blockchain fixes this altogether. Provenance is a supply chain blockchain startup. What they do is they enable manufacturers, producers, and buyers to look over a completely transparent supply chain that they keep track of on a blockchain. What this means is that big names can no longer use illegal resources or human resources across their supply chain, giving the fair trade badge actual value, because you can see it. Here at Schiphol, which is represented by Maureen together with Vincent and Ines from Transavia, we built what's known as a zero-knowledge proof solution. We use the blockchain to put passenger data into the hands of the passengers themselves and create a completely fluid, cross-company airport experience tailored for users. Now, blockchain takes us one step beyond money in 2 different ways. With cryptocurrencies, yes, we go further than money as we know it today. But by changing these rules, blockchain can revolutionize entire industries altogether. So I hope that the question now isn't what is a consensus, what is a node? I hope that the question now is, what is your next step? Thank you.